I feel the need to address the camera angle again. We keep messing with this
the angle.
Yeah, I mean it's very actiony because of how wide it is, but Justin seems to think that the previous episodes are too well lit. So
I think we need more intimate lighting.
More intimate lighting.
Intimate lighting is better.
Get some mood lighting.
Mood lighting,
some candles.
Yeah.
Should we get some candles?
Candles would be cool. Everyone makes fun of your Dreamcatcher, man. Like I hate to.
Oh, really? Yeah, I figured.
Everyone, there's been a lot of sarcastic comments about.
Oh, that's
the
funny.
Dreamcatcher.
Well, what did they have to say?
Stop hurting Dan's Dreamcatcher.
You can just tell me directly, right? Like you don't have to play this proxy game.
This is a game that these motherfuckers are slagging.
What do they say?
Slagging their Dreamcatcher.
What do they say about the Dreamcatcher?
They're like, oh, there's nothing in the room but a Dreamcatcher. They're just like they're knocking the ambience.
Well, how about this? How about this, motherfuckers? Yeah. Well, what do you think about this?
You're coming in for interior decorating critique here.
And what if all I had was a Dreamcatcher? Then what, motherfucker?
Yeah, everyone's. I'm trying to remember who actually.
At least I have dreams to catch.
I'm trying to name names. I'm trying to remember who even called this out here. Yeah, it'd be fun if you just had like a random, I don't know, like Brazilian flag or something. Like if there's, I wonder if people would react if there's just some random like flag or, like political flag or something, like some.
Confederate flag,
yeah. I'm sure people would certainly.
I don't know.
People would certainly react to that, but
people would react. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like it's funny because a Dreamcatcher is like least offensive thing you could have, I guess. I mean, it does fall into that like basic white girl.
It's cultural appropriation.
It's
cultural.
Well, it's still like vaguely Canadian, I guess, right? So there are some roots to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, do you know if they're like actually like what they are in their original context? Like, are they actually like a religious object or something? Like, what?
I mean, I think the appropriated context is pretty much what they are, right? They're meant to symbolize kind of protection and while sleeping.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Keep out the bad dreams, right?
It'd just be funny if they turned out to actually be like used for like harnessing demons from dreams to like, I don't know, seduce young women or so. I don't know, like some random, or like making money from the deaths of enemy tribe members or something. Like if it has like some instrumental sinister purpose, like it's actually designed for, and now it's just like some harmless decoration, right?
Yeah,
like
Dreamcatcher. The churning of Western cultural appropriation, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do see how an empty room with just a Dreamcatcher can look kind of strange. But the thing in Japan is you shouldn't have stuff hanging above your heads while you sleep.
You
right?
shouldn't?
You shouldn't, right?
Okay.
Well, because an earthquake, right?
Oh, right,
might take your fucking head off, right?
Yeah, true.
So I have quite a bit of stuff on the wall behind the camera. But yeah, this side. But I don't know, like someone was over as well, and they're like, "Oh, you should hang something here in this." And I was like, I kind of like it open.
Just kind of open space, yeah.
Like, cause if I start putting stuff on this wall, then the whole place becomes a little more claustrophobic, I think.
I have literally, I'm the wrong person to comment because I have like literally zero decorations of any kind, really. Nor do I really want that many, I guess. Yeah.
Can you talk? Let me just make sure.
Is it working? Yeah.
Yeah, it seems all right.
Seems all right.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
Okay, just double checking. Just
logging it
should
up
be
there.
Right here. Yeah, okay, looking good. Yeah, I don't know.
Where did you actually get it in Canada or?
Oh no. I got it here.
You got it here?
It was made in Nepal.
It was
so it's
handy guide to Buddhism in Japan here.
What's inside, Justin?
It's generic chat GPT to your information. It's
well, look, let's not disparage chat GPT. This was published. Let me find this.
What? There was already AI text in 2019, right?
Wasn't there? Very I have no
Not
idea.
really,
Nothing publicly
really?
accessible, but maybe
So you think this was
some.
written by a human?
Yeah, I
or
think this was written by
it was
a
written by a
person,
person?
compiled by a person. I mean, there's
Yeah.
not even like date or copyright. Oh, it's not for sale. Interesting.
It's just
So,
given away at like a temple or something.
What the hell? What is this Bukyo Dendo Kyokai? Do you
see.
know?
Oh, is
Does
this
this have
an organization? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bukyo Dendo.
This was my
some
ex-girlfriend, part of
some kind of church or something.
Yeah.
Kyokai, yeah. So probably some kind of sect or something.
Hmm.
They like lure you in with harmless seeming information, and then the deep tier Buddhist sex techniques come out. Have to eating the monk's semen, bathing in his excrement, letting him ride on you like a horse. I'm sure that's what it leads to.
Inevitably,
this,
right?
Harmless looking.
If you give a mouse a cookie,
yeah. Didn't you try to get recruited by some sect or something?
Yeah,
They're
a few times. So there's two sects that are battling over me here in Ikebukuro.
In
actually,
the park, they're just randomly approaching.
Well,
in the park.
in different parks. Interestingly enough, it is a bit of a East Coast West Coast beef happening here in Ikebukuro. So on the West Coast we have Kenshokai.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm almost hesitant. I wonder how litigious they are. But
I'm sure they're not going to watch random videos in English to troll through for. Yeah.
But I know this is any resemblance to real life is purely coincidental.
Yeah.
This is entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, so they're actually their typical recruitment techniques pretty basic, right? It's usually these very NPC looking middle-aged people standing on the street corner holding up a newspaper with Mount Fuji on it, right?
Oh, I might have seen this. I feel like I've probably seen
they're
this.
everywhere, right?
They're like asking for donations or something.
I have no idea what they're asking for.
Okay,
right?
Yeah. There's those I think they're like Filipino scammers or something. There's people that are like
that's
trying
something
to
else,
get,
like in the station.
Yeah,
there's
many.
The guy with the bag, and he's always like,
there's so many groups, right? Yeah, there's so many scammers in the station.
Yeah. So what he's doing, he plays this like confused, lost kind of thing.
Isn't that just Filipino? Isn't that just? Oh, okay, yeah. There's those like random weird Japanese loner dudes that will try to like
do the same,
grab you in the station.
I haven't had at least like that.
I feel like there's at least like 2 or 3 that I know on site.
What do they do?
Well, they just like they're like always in public, and like they're always either at here Shinjuku or Shibuya, and they just like hang out in the station. Well, just come up and like grab you or something. And they're like, or like I don't know what they're. I don't even know what they're trying to do. Like I have no.
Are they mentally there? Are they
I think
together?
I think they're on another planet.
Yeah.
I mean, they have like very starey eye contact, and they seem not really
just out of their
mind. They seem like they're on another planet.
Yeah.
But they're like always like I used to. I haven't seen them recently, but there's at least like 2 or 3. They would like always come after me. It's like being in a zombie movie, right? Like you see these dudes like coming for you, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta get out of here!" Like, fuck, like someone's gonna grab me or something. And I don't know if they're like targeting.
This is like nothing compared to Los Angeles or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But keep going.
There's definitely So I'm confusing them with the religious recruitment.
Well, in that vein, there's the one guy I recognize, and I haven't seen him in a while, but I also haven't been out too much in the places he frequents. But yeah, just some kind of middle-aged Japanese guy who his thing is so he seems to target foreigners or tourists, I guess, and he's basically like, I need like 500 yen to take the train.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I guess it works enough to warrant it, but he's like approached me like 4 times. I'm like, no, dude, like I've seen you like
someone tried to get it might have just been a one-off. There was a Japanese dude that approached me for yen maybe a week ago. And I just looked at him for like 0.5 seconds. I was like, nani, and I just left. I was like, what? Like you're asking me for yen?
Yeah.
You should be giving me yen, bro.
Yeah, right.
Like, give me
was he kind of a short Japanese guy?
I can't remember. Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, I guess they all are for you.
Yeah. Can't remember exactly what he looked like, but I just thought of it now because I was just like, whoa, this is first like Japanese dudes asking for random change.
Man, I've had it so many times.
Yeah. I mean, Australia, it's like every day. Like people ask you for change in Australia like every day, but
we all need change. The world needs change, bro.
Change you can believe in.
Yeah. Well, who's that from?
Obama, right?
Oh, right. That was change. Okay. I'm more familiar with this hope campaign.
Change you can believe in, yeah.
Oh, you can believe in it, but you know,
wasn't that done by actually like a fairly legit art? Like, there's that one Obama,
the hope one.
I think it was, what's his name, like Shepard Fairey or something. There's like some. I think he was considered a pretty legit artist at the time. Oh, he's found his own okay, American artist and act. Yeah, so he did that.
He did the Hope, the classic.
Yeah. So I think he's got his own Obey clothing.
Oh, he did Obey?
He's a founder. He's a founder of Obey.
That's pretty funny, contradictory messaging.
Well, that's what
right?
Yeah, so I think
Unless
he had like
Obey is just a psyop.
I think he had like a fine art background too when he got into doing this. Well, yeah, he's doing he's like doing. I don't know if this is just a knockoff or not, but
if so, he has terrible taste in politicians. Yeah, I mean they're all terrible, but like your batting streak is very.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did the Andre the Giant.
But thing. So he's also like the founder of Obey.
Seems to be, yeah. From what I can. I mean, his art seems pretty shitty. I mean, I'm not really a fan of it, but
I mean, it's just like very Warhol-esque or something, right?
I hate that. Yeah, I mean, he's literally wearing the Warhol bandana there.
Yeah,
I hate that stuff so much. Like, I feel like everything associated with the Velvet. This is like the heretical opinion. I just feel like everything associated with the Velvet Underground and Warhol is just like so lame at this point.
Velvet Underground is a club in Toronto on Queen Street West.
Okay, well, obviously taken from the band.
What was the Velvet Underground?
It's just this band with
collective.
It's just this band with Lou Reed and like. It's just like this
a music band.
Yeah, it's just like this stereo. It's just kind of like this stereotypical like hipster rock band from like the early 70s. So, they're like they're like, they're not just like the, I don't know, Rolling Stones or something. They have like some of them, if I remember right, have like classical training and they're like aware of jazz. All their songs are about heroin and like hanging out in NYC and wearing sunglasses at night,
right?
And just
Studio 44.
And Warhol designed their album covers, and they just have that like. It's just like one of those things that you're like supposed to take so seriously, and it, like. Every time I've like actually listened to their albums, I'm just like, this is whack, or like, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I haven't heard of them, I mean,
yeah, I'm glad you. This is one of those cases where I'm like, I'm happy to hear that. I'm like, good. You shouldn't have heard of them,
right?
And like, this is another opinion that's gonna like piss people off. They're gonna be like, what? He hasn't heard of Lou Reed and the Velvet. I'm like, no, it's like 2025. Like
Lou Reed rings a bell, but I've never like given a shit about it. Right?
That's what I'm trying to say, man. Is like I would
like it doesn't seem like they've produced anything of consequence.
Well, I think they broke up back in the 70s or whatever.
But there's people when, like when were the Beatles, right?
Yeah, well, that's
I mean,
exactly
Beatles
right.
is a terrible I mean, way out of scope for the comparison, but still, I know like.
I would when I was a teenager, like I was very like, I guess like scientific, and I would like try to studiously like give these things like a fair hearing. So I would like listen to something and I would be like, oh, maybe I'm just not understanding it. Like,
no, you're good.
Maybe, maybe I need to listen to the second album first and then come back. So I would I would sit there listening to like 5 albums of these things. And I'm not just talking about Velvet Underground, could be some other band, but and then I'd be like, oh, well, I'm not really feeling any of these. Maybe I'll come back like 6 months from now. Come back 6 months later. I'm like, nah, this is whack. It still sucks. Yeah. And then like some other thing like that people didn't take seriously, like, I don't know, Emerson, Lake and Palmer or something. I'd be like, what? This is wild. Like, what the fuck? Like,
back up just a bit.
People don't, up or down?
Down.
Okay. Yeah.
About there. That's good. About a fist. Right.
I feel like we should have like mic stands or something, or lecterns or something.
It would be great if we did. It's just more stuff to set up.
More stuff to set up. Yeah.
We need a podcast studio, basically.
Nice. So I feel like it's kind of the point where like people can actually be like, yeah, this is actually not that. Well, I don't know. It's like, do you fuck with like Bob Dylan or something? Like, do you care?
No. I mean,
do you care about literally any of his music or ideas or like any?
No, not really.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Where it's like
weird adopted like accents, which I believe he originally didn't have, right?
Well, he's just like some normal.
Just invented this whole.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like, if I remember right, he's just like some standard like city boy kind of. His real name's like, I don't know, like Jerry Zimmerman or something.
Right.
I don't know. So it's just like, it's just these things that just get passed down and you're supposed to, I don't know, genuflect to or whatever. And a lot of it is not, well, even like we got flack.
Back up just a bit.
Here?
No, like other way.
Other way? Yeah.
I bet there's good.
Not saying here, right? Yeah. So some of these things are good. Like some stuff that's from, 40, 50 years ago is still, I guess, like inspiring or listenable or good. But
like what?
Well, like the Beatles, right?
Beatles, yeah.
Like the Beatles go pretty deep.
Yeah, for sure. Never really got into them, but just even kind of passively in culture, they
the Beatles go deep, and they have like different whole areas of what they sound like. Like they definitely don't just sound like one thing.
Yeah.
But Velvet Underground, I feel like just not fucking with it.
Yeah.
In any sense. Yeah.
Andy Warhol was man, I can't remember what I heard about it, but it just sounded like a huge scam. It was like he was like propped up and his works were inflated. It was another one of these like Pollock type artists.
Oh, well, I think he was getting I think the CIA was very fond of Pollock, because because they thought that abstract expressionism was good because it wasn't political.
Right? We talked about this before.
Yeah. So there's certainly that was certainly getting pushed at the time. And
we'll just turn you down.
Yeah.
You can keep the same distance.
Keep the same distance, yeah.
Keep talking.
Well, yeah, I mean, Warhol is kind of the template for where art is now. I mean, it's just this kind of like purely symbolic capital kind of pop art or whatever, which is again kind of fits the CIA profile pretty well, I guess,
To contrast that, I'm quite a big fan of Threda, as we've talked about before, I think. And again, this is where the tapestry's from. There's actually 3 tapestries layered that I like to switch around.
Okay, yeah.
But it's an art collective based out of Denver, headed by Peter Westerman.
Okay, yeah.
And basically they do visionary art, right? Like it's like I don't know, trying to capture, the ineffable experience in art, visually represented. And they do tapestries, they do sculptures, they do, originally it was like archival prints, like
you'd
stretched canvas, then like clothing, right? Like I have a few pieces from them. This is kind of cool, actually. I could show this.
Yeah.
This is Alex Gray piece.
Yeah.
So it's limited edition, right? They roll them out, and what is this, number 90 something out of 420, I believe. And you might recognize the Tool album printed on the interior here.
Yeah.
Net of Being, I believe, is this piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I like what they're up to. It's nice wearable clothing. It's kind of stealthy on the outside. But
have you ever fucked much with like psychedelic art from like the 70s and stuff, like even kind of the comic stuff, like Victor Moscoso or stuff like that?
No, show me.
I feel like you'd probably be interested in some of it. Some of it's
Yeah, I
quite,
mean, this is all kind of like Grateful Dead era
some
type
of it, yeah.
stuff,
But
right?
he has like some comics that are yeah, like Zap and stuff. Like even kind of like Crumb was
Yeah.
Crumb gets quite psychedelic and kind of weird and some ways too. Like he has some comics where he's just obviously trying to draw being on acid and
Yeah.
gets quite out there.
It's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's very dated, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've
But
got the orange sunshine there and everything,
yeah,
right?
some of the more comic, like specifically the comics were quite still quite interesting, I think, or like still kind of influencing some comics that are coming out now. This guy Moscoso is kind of a little bit more obscure maybe than Crumb, I guess. But Crumb has some really tripped out kind of stuff
This
too.
isn't his character, right?
No,
He's like playing off pop culture, basically. Yeah,
There's a
okay,
few of them.
gotcha.
There's a few of them that do that. Well, I mean, Crumb kind of does that too. Like Crumb is always using these like, like Felix the cat and everything. These.
Yeah, I mean, like I get what they're doing, I guess, where it's like it's very like counterculture, basically, right? Like it has it's yeah, like the emphasis is on the counter almost, right?
Yeah, I still think some of that. I mean, some of that's kind of like filtered down, but there's still some interesting pieces that are kind of a bit more obscure or.
Yeah, I mean, you're scrolling through them, and it looked pretty uniform overall. I guess like nothing.
Yeah,
it seemed like the same pieces were kind of repeating.
Yeah,
themselves.
I have to log up some of the specific comics, which were kind of interesting. I thought some of the Crumb stuff from the '60s is really out there too, but never know how to. The problem with Crumb is that like I never know which. How it's like collected. Like he doesn't have easy. I feel like the actual publications are almost like too archival or something. Like it's not really. It's hard to like introduce his work, I guess, or like find a good. I mean, I'm sure someone will recommend a. Oh yeah, like this is a cool like this like look at this cover, right? It's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah. Well, you should be able to read that, right?
Yeah,
it's in Hebrew.
Yeah, well, it's just like stuff like this where he's getting quite
69 issues. You say?
Well, that is like Yeshua. That's that was it Yod He Shin Vo He?
Which is
shin. Well, it's like adding the where is it? Weird coincidence. I was just looking at another coincidence here. So it's like the tetragrammaton with a letter shin added to the middle.
Okay.
Which is like the divine,
what's that mean?
Divine spirit, I guess.
Okay.
Which kind of like animates it.
Why is it in there?
Well, because it's kind of like going from vitalizing the elements, I guess, so they're alive. It's kind of like the.
And what does that have to do with a beetle carrying a lantern?
I have no idea what is actually
wearing a farmer's hat.
Yeah. But it's a pretty esoteric tier of cover, I guess.
Yeah, there is something there.
Yeah, so some of these Zap comics I think was created by Crumb, I think I want to say. So
I'm surprised he could hold it down to have a legal entity or economic entity.
Crumb was pretty successful though, man. Like he kind of, I guess he did like kind of sell out. Like he did like album covers for, I want to say Janis Joplin and I don't think it was the Grateful Dead, but he did like some high profile album covers. And he was doing like commercial art kind of like posters and stuff too. So he I think he was like doing financially like pretty well in the 60s and 70s, even before he kind of got taken seriously, I guess.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, I think so. I think he blurbed Aaron's
Oh, really?
something that they put out. I think he commented on one of their publications.
Stone Church Press.
Yeah, something from Stone Church. I think he commented on. Yeah, he's how old is 81? Yeah, so still going,
kicking it. Yeah.
still drawing. I guess. Yeah, just putting out all kinds of stuff. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of his early stuff was like really psychedelic kind of
Mhm.
like literally inspired by just like really intense acid trips and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I remember. I think you showed me like a page where it was like, how do you describe it? Like two things like parting from each other
Oh
from
yeah,
the
yeah,
center or
yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean, he's trying to draw perceptions on acid and stuff. Which
Mhm.
I mean, to be fair, at the time, like people hadn't really tried to do that, right?
Yeah,
Like no one was like really trying to draw like what this was like or whatever.
Mhm.
So I mean, you could say it's kind of dated maybe, but it still kind of interesting or important, I
Right.
guess. Yeah, like should definitely. Oh, he's been meaning to get more of his books. Oh, he did he illustrated the book of Genesis. I think
Mhm.
this is pretty recent. I think just like maybe 10 years or something, 10 years ago.
Mhm.
I haven't read it, but it's
Is it meant for like kids or what's the situation?
I mean, knowing Crumb, I mean, it's probably full of nudity and violent. Well, I mean, the Book of Genesis kind of is too. But
Do you remember Animorphs?
Animorphs, yeah.
What's the person behind the Animorphs art up to now?
Animorphs art. It's a good question. Wasn't that kind of like CG art or something?
I guess it was in some way, right?
Animorphs
But like
covers,
the cover, yeah.
I think it feels like it was.
Where
Like-
did that flip thing? It was like in the corner of the book. There was also the
Oh, they did have some. Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. They did have some kind of like flip book
Yeah.
thing, right?
where it's basically like illustrating the transformation
yeah,
in the
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of flip book format in the corner.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I forgot about that. Flip books, yeah. Flip books are a cool idea.
Hmm.
I always wanted to do some flip book element to something. It's a
Mhm.
good idea to
Need
think
more
about.
pages
Need
first.
more pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read them or
No, I just saw them in the
Animorphs? Yeah.
library and
It's
thought
pretty
they looked
long,
cool.
right? Isn't it like? It
Why
feels like it's
didn't
one
I
of
read
these-
it?
It feels like it's one of these like 100 book series or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was just one of these things where they're just cranking them out because
There's just too many of them, right? Yeah.
Same thing with like Goosebumps
Oh,
or
right.
something.
Yeah. Well, he had like I mean, he had like a team that was like he would just
Right,
write the
Goosebumps. Yeah.
yeah he would just write the outline and then the
Right.
team would like crank it out or whatever.
Mhm.
So
Dude must be loaded, right?
yeah, he's rich. I mean, he doesn't have to.
And I guess there's
do anything.
what Fear Street was by him.
Yeah, he
or-
was big before that too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already like doing pretty well. I think he was doing young adults horror. I guess
Mm.
it's kind of a weird idea.
Mm.
I mean, again, like I don't imagine kids now are even like reading anything really, much less like
Mm.
books about
Well-
horror or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like No Sleep is like pretty popular, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
how big their
Yeah.
Gen Z audience is.
Yeah. I don't get the impression that Gen Z really like. Well, I could be totally wrong. I mean, like YA.
Do we have any Gen Z listeners? Do you
young
think?
adults? Yeah, there's
Sound
I'm
off in the
sure
comments.
there's,
Are you
sound
Gen
off in
Z?
the comments, yeah. Well, no, they do because I guess young adult is selling pretty well. So I'm probably wrong on this, but don't have a clear. There doesn't seem to be anything that pops out that same way, like Animorphs or Goosebumps or something.
In terms of like what's popular now or what?
Yeah, it's hard to get a
Yeah,
sense.
I mean,
of,
we wouldn't even know, would we? I guess you might.
maybe.
but-
Yeah, I can't think of anything that.
Yeah, I mean, is the whole young adult readership
Seems like it's
dead?
It seems like it's ending, right?
Yeah.
Seems like it's maybe an outdated idea
Yeah.
in some ways. Yeah. Interesting though.
Hmm.
Although I think there's like young adult comics too that
Mhm.
are like I don't know, kind of slice of life realistic ones. I see these in bookstores.
I feel so offended every time you say young adult, because I'm like, wait, you're talking about like someone who's like 12 years old? Like, no, I'm a young adult.
Well, they're like I guess it's like, what even is? I don't even know what the range is. Like what, like 10 to 14 or something? I guess it's like
It's considered young adult.
Yes, yeah. I'm trying to remember what even.
It's almost more of like a literary term.
What is?
I would say like
it's just
20s is young adult.
Well, I mean
right?
like YA it's a marketing category.
Yeah.
So they're like pitching books that
feels about right. Yeah, like 11, 10, 14. Yeah. What's 15, 20 or 15, 18? Just teens?
I think so, yeah.
It's kind of weird how it goes young adult,
Young
then
adult,
back
then
teens,
back to teen or something.
right?
Yeah. Teen fiction. I don't even know if that's a thing, even late teens or something. Yeah. It's not really, that seems like a neglected age range.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess that's like the Fight Club age range or something, where you're like reading things that are like not terribly well written. But
I think I basically stopped reading by then, to be honest, sadly enough.
Do you remember why? Or
just school, man. I mean, school makes you hate reading, right? Like everything becomes a book report. Like I was reading so much before I was like 12. Like I was like staying up until like I would like block out my door frame to like stay up and read when I was like 10 years old, right?
It must be on purpose, man, because like
they make you hate learning because they don't want you to learn, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, right? So thinking about it now, I mean, some of the selections are just so absurd that
in terms of the books at school,
like it has to be intentional, because like some of it is so like making teenage boys read like, I don't know, Edith Wharton or something, or like even Ethan Frome. I don't know, just some of these books that make it onto.
Trying to remember what we had. We had Lord of the Flies. That was a big one. I think that was grade 10. I think we're doing like some Shakespeare stuff in grade 9, which I don't know why Shakespeare is taught. I feel like there's just so much more important stuff. I mean, I guess you need it for the historical context.
But it's a pretty deep dive at this point. I mean,
I feel like it's more interesting in grade 12 or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they could get to before that would be more compelling.
Yeah.
But yes, horrible selections all around, right?
Yeah.
Things which are not likely to get kids or teenagers interested in.
Well, what was the book list you put together? What is it? A reading list for friendly teenagers.
Reading list for friendly teenagers. Yeah. It's mostly like a
book number 1, Das Kapital. This motherfucker.
That's probably what I feel like that sort of is what teenagers should be
reading
about. Like what, like you're in a society. You know, it's like realizing that you're in a society is kind of important, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I mean, is that what teenage
Naked Lunch? I feel like teenagers should read Naked Lunch or something, just because it's ridiculous.
What's Naked Lunch?
Oh, it's like William S. Burroughs. It's just like these insane kind of cut up texts about, like heroin psychosis and stuff in Morocco, and it's like talking insects and like talking assholes and like just.
Seems fun.
Weird other dimensions and I don't know, just funny, crazy stuff. But
I really liked Vonnegut in high school. I had a great time reading that. I love that.
I don't know why they wouldn't just teach. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe some places do, but
Breakfast of Champions, Slaughterhouse 5, Cat's Cradle.
Yeah.
I mean, these were great. I love those.
Well, that's what I mean, right? Like they should be,
and they're like pretty profound as well, right?
Yeah. I feel like they should be teaching Vonnegut more than.
Yeah, I mean, they just give you like even Lord of the Flies was just like, oh, like I don't know. I mean, it just felt so bland or something. It doesn't hook you enough.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, even the film, you get excited when it's a class where you watch a movie.
You're watching a movie,
right?
Yeah.
And the movie sucks.
I'm trying to remember which one was it. I'm trying to remember which movie it would even. Is it one from the 80s or something?
Yeah, I think it's
there's
that
from
one.
yeah. I think there was one earlier one in black and white. I could be remembering this wrong though,
Yeah.
but there's the one from the 80s, I guess.
This is a pretty well-worn topic, I guess, is the expression. But so we obviously did Romeo and Juliet, right? And yeah, the movies. I can't remember what the original one is, but yeah, we watched that, right? And that's fun because that has a naked 16-year-old girl in it, right?
Yeah.
Which is,
I think that was like non-consensual or something. I remember there's like
I think her parents signed off on it.
Yeah, there's like some weird. I think that director was kind of a. Well, I guess.
They all are, right?
Yeah.
So
he's a director, so
yeah,
that's all we need to say, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Non-sketchy people don't tend to become film directors, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was pretty well done, at least, I think. I remember, that was like a fun watch.
Yeah.
Kept you engaged at the very least. And just for fun, we also watched the one with what's his face? Who's that guy? Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, that's a great movie. It's a classic, right?
The modernized Romeo. Yeah,
that's a good one.
I remember the cinematics of it were very fun. And the gun and whatnot, like just very. They're
just using guns instead of swords.
Yeah.
Which kind of
and they like stylized it very nice. It's like, the custom gun with like the like etchings on the side and just very like gaudy.
It's pretty classic film.
Yeah, that was fun. It is possible to have a fun rendition of something like that.
I feel like I always just come to ground on I don't know how suited. I mean, I could be off base here, but I think trying to get preteens or early teens interested in poetry and drama seems like a bit of a difficult task, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I haven't personally tried to do this, but I feel like maybe like some Vonnegut might be easier access point.
Vonnegut, yeah, I mean,
because like preteens are pretty nervous and awkward, and like they don't really want to be going up in dramatic production unless they're like, I don't know, theater kids. Well,
this is like, this is one of the big kind of high school social divides, right? Yeah. The band people versus the jocks versus the theater people. I wasn't into theater, believe it or not. Were you?
No, it's not interested.
I mean, it seems pretty weird, basically. Well, I know, like I could see if you're that type of person, then it would be appealing to you, but it just was not appealing to me at all. I'd try it now, just out of interest of pushing random boundaries and going mentally to weird places. But yeah, back then it was certainly nothing remotely on my
being in a theater club or whatever.
1984 we didn't read for school, but I would say that should be read. I read that on my own actually in grade 9.
1984, it's a good one.
It's a great one, should read it again, to be honest. Probably would get quite a bit more.
There's a lot. The interesting thing is that he a lot of that book is actually, it's not really what people like. Everyone, at least when I was in school, like everyone's like, oh, it's about the Soviet Union, and it's about communism, and it's very like, it's taken as this very like simple allegory, but a lot of it, is starting point was the this book by James Burnham called the Managerial Revolution, right? So which is kind of about what we would now call like the PMC, right? So a lot of that take is that like the 1984 society is actually like a kind of a managerial society. Well, because like the party members of the inner party, like if you read the book, you notice that they like don't actually do any work, right? They're just like, all they're doing is revising like speech codes. So they're just like, in much the same way that like you would maybe revise forms of address, you know, like, I don't know, calling someone Ms. instead of Miss, or, you know, changing someone's pronouns or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So all they're doing is constantly updating, you know, guidelines about what, well, I mean, what's happening, right?
Right.
So they're updating what the political situation is, but it's just, all that's happening is it's just constantly being remixed, right?
Yeah.
But the same, so the actual party members don't do anything, right?
Well, yeah, they're not productive.
Yeah. So
right?
the proles, or the, you know, the slave class, does all the actual work, right? The party doesn't actually do anything, right? They're just so they're purely parasitic managerial class, right? Which is kind of running things. So that's a lot of the background for that book, right? So it's not technically necessarily about, like, I don't know, the Soviet Union or something. Right. I mean, that obviously influenced him, but it's not really like, you can't really call it like a simple allegory or something. Like, it's not really. I think he was looking at a lot. Well, I mean, it gets into AI, right? Like, it has.
Yeah. I was gonna say
it has like, you know, machines which like remix newspapers to make new newspapers. And, you know, it has like novel writing machines, songwriting machines, right? So it kind of does get into a lot of stuff that
you said something I thought that was interesting about like 1984 and Newspeak specifically, and basically how that's what ChatGPT or something is doing now, basically, where if you tighten the parameters of speech, you tighten the parameters of thought.
Well, yeah, that was his point with that, which is that, like, if you, and again, like, on the surface, it makes sense, right? So, because you're like, well, why do you need, you know, like, why do you need 6 different synonyms for the same thing, right? You know, like, why don't we just have one word that expresses it, that everyone can agree on, right? So the arguments for that are, you know, superficially make sense, right? Until you're like, well, you know, I don't want to say this thing, I want to say this, right? I want to express, you know, nuance or something. So then they're like, well, why would you need nuance, right? Like, why wouldn't you just, right? So that's kind of the I think there is an element of that, which is kind of similar to Newspeak or something, what we see, you know, playing out now, with things being kind of dumbed down or simplified or streamlined.
Yeah,
I mean, that was happening in his time too. I mean, the language is getting massively simplified from, you know, by newspapers and TV and stuff, compared with what it used to be.
I can't remember what it is I watched recently, but there's some quick jokes, quick line. I think it was from the 80s or something, and there's like, "Oh, print is dead."
Yeah.
So it's funny just that this has been happening for, like, you know, 50 years.
Yeah, well, they always say that though.
They always say that, right?
Yeah, but it but even like the TV from like 50 years ago is like so much more literate and like,
well, yeah, the talk
out.
shows,
yeah,
right?
they're like really like, you know, there's like no cuts.
It's like Charlie Rose versus like Jerry Springer or something.
Yeah, well,
kind of that contrast.
Well, that was, I mean, Charlie Rose is even pretty brief compared to, if you watch like discussion shows from like the 60s or something.
I think that's
like,
what I was trying to reference.
Yeah,
but
like
it's not Charlie Rose.
Cavett or something.
There we go,
right?
Dick Cavett. Yeah,
it feels like you're watching like a graduate seminar.
Yeah.
But it's just like mainstream.
Yeah.
But like the level that they're talking and discussing things is like way more sophisticated, I guess, compared to what you would see on.
So I feel like that's kind of morphed into podcasts, ideally, right?
Sorta,
I mean, like, you know, for how easy it is to make fun of Joe Rogan, I think he does a good job of just bringing experts from random fringe fields and just distributing that information to millions of people.
Well,
it's very powerful.
You could look at it. You could look at it as being more of a podcast model, I guess, like that old talk show model, I guess.
But like when everything turned into The View or something, it's just like scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Content wise.
It was the 90s. I guess the 90s sort of was when that started happening. When it was just
it's
like
the attention span, right?
Attention span.
Like we're down to like 8 seconds now, I believe, right?
Yeah. Kind of started with MTV. Like, I feel like MTV was sort of
the first nail in the coffin.
The first nail in the coffin. Oh, it's interesting to watch. Like, there's this video on YouTube which is the first 2 hours of MTV.
Oh, interesting. Like
So
ever?
So it's just everything, right? Like, it's the commercials, it's the videos, it's the shows and stuff.
Well,
and,
like the first 2 hours of broadcasting,
Yeah.
like once they.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
what happens? The first 2 hours of broadcasting, and it's really interesting to watch because like you can see they're like not quite there yet, but you can sort of see what direction it's like trying to go in.
But so did they like start the very like jump cut type?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because like music,
like jumping to the VJ and then like back to the music video.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So like it started getting way more jump cutting and speeded up pace, I guess.
I can't remember where I heard this, but it also like affected like movies started to be shot like music videos because of MTV. Basically.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like it just changed how cinematography was done.
Certainly, yeah. And a lot of those early music video directors did become eventually like cinema film directors.
Right.
Some of them quite good, by the way. Some of them really good. And a lot from the 90s too. There's a lot of crossover there. But it is interesting to just watch it like watch that first 2 hours because you're like, well, you can sort of see the direction it's going, but it's not quite there yet. They haven't really like worked everything out. But trying to transition to a faster pace of images, I guess, and faster pace of transitions and kind of everything. Yeah,
I've always I never really understood how, like, I'm trying to remember now. We had YTV in Canada. I don't know. Did you have that too? Is that a northeastern thing?
YTV?
No, this must have been an Ontario thing.
Doesn't sound familiar. Yeah.
This was basically Canadian Nickelodeon.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
And you have like the after school broadcasting chunk, right? Where you have the like episode of something with ads, and then you have like a broadcast host.
Okay, yeah.
Where cuts to some, two young adults basically. With some childish banter or something in some
it's like a host or
out,
something. Yeah.
In some very like Nickelodeon aesthetic room type thing, right? So that was live.
Okay, yeah.
I'm asking, like, I'm trying to piece
was it
together.
live? Yeah, probably was.
Because I know that like in the late night segment, it felt drastically different. Like you could tell that it was just like on the timer.
Cuff, yeah.
Like it was just something it was all pre-scheduled. It was just show ad, right?
Yeah, I think there was some Canadian shows that were shown on US. I think there's like some cartoons and stuff, like kids shows.
Anything jump out?
Zoobly Zoo.
Zaboomafoo? No?
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Zoobly Zoo. I've never heard of that.
It's probably going back a bit here.
Yeah.
There's definitely some crossover with that Nickelodeon kind of 90s.
I think the big one from Canada, people typically reference can't remember.
Which one?
What was Drake in?
Oh, Degrassi High or something.
Yeah.
I could never work out what that was. Like, I don't think I ever actually saw that, but I definitely heard the name.
Yeah, I think it was like a very like dramatic like show.
Was the
because like people would like die from like heroin overdoses or something.
Was it like social issues or something?
Yeah. It was one of those
social issues. It
was like talking about stuff that like wasn't really represented in media at the time, I guess, because it was like kinda,
it's like socially conscious.
Yeah,
I definitely remember hearing about that, but I don't think I ever watched it actually.
I've never watched it either. I've just heard it referenced.
Yeah. Social conscious.
In Canada, we had what was the show? Oh man, was it called Splat?
Splat.
It was like some game show live, like filmed in front of a live audience of kids, right? And you'd compete in various games. And basically, if you were wrong, you'd get like
dunked in slime or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very like Nickelodeon playbook.
And there was this character, the executioner, who was like the main enforcer of this, right? He would
executioner.
He'd pull the the lever that drenched you in slime or whatever.
It just sounds like the Nickelodeon playbook there.
Yeah, it was very silly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it was called now.
Yeah, Nickelodeon was huge at that time. It was
I don't think this was Nickelodeon. I think this was YTV.
Yeah.
I believe it was filmed in Toronto.
But I'm sure they were like cross influencing there or whatever.
I think it was just kind of extension of the same culture, really. YTV was Canada's imitation of the original Nickelodeon, I suppose.
Canadian, I guess, like, my take is that Canadian media did feel more like, I don't know, socially conscious or something, or like, I guess it seemed like they had more like of a message behind it or something, whereas
interesting,
a lot of the US media kids media was just like pure, I don't know, nonsense or something. Or
were you ever into Ren and Stimpy?
Yeah, well, that's a good example, right? I mean,
that's
like,
nonsense.
I
never watched it, so I don't really know.
Pure, like,
I remember just being like very cracked out, basically.
Yeah, that's like, it's amazing that was considered a kids show, because it's just like there's some pretty, I want to say, like, pretty adult humor in it.
Yeah,
and I think like the people making it, including the main creator, who I think was like canceled for.
Oh yeah, he was canceled for something, right?
Well, I think like his girlfriend, while he was making Ren and Stimpy, was like
underage or something,
14 or something.
Yeah.
I think he like hired her and then was dating. Like, I don't know. It seems yeah. Well, anyway,
let's separate the arts from the artist.
We'll separate. Yeah, we're not gonna go there. But anyway, I mean, like, you can, if you watch Ren and Stimpy now, you're like, you kind of get that sense. You're like, wow, this was like a kid's show. Like,
yeah,
it seems very like kind of on the fringe. Like, just in terms of everything, like the humor is like more. Like, it's not really like just simple kid humor,
right?
Like, it's pretty like, I don't know, like nihilistic or something. And there's like weird close-ups. Like, the art style is weird. Like,
but so it was for kids. It wasn't for like, I don't know, Family Guy.
Yeah, so that was sort of
people, or
I think that's why it's such an important show, is because like it was sort of like the turning point where you were like, what is this, right? Like, it's not a conventional kids cartoon,
right? Can you compare it to like Rick and Morty or something?
But even that's like, I feel
it's
like
more cohesive, I guess.
I feel like you couldn't, like, Rick and Morty still feels in line with, like, I don't know, The Simpsons or something,
I guess. Yeah,
but Ren and Stimpy is just like, it's like just cracked out. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. Like, there's no
do they make up the rules as they go along? Basically,
it felt like it just feels like they're making up the rules as they go along.
Yeah.
There's like, it's very like non-linear. Like, there's no continuity. There's no, like, I guess there's like, it feels like one of those old. Well, it feels like a cartoon from like the 1940s, but on crack or something. There's like really weird.
You were showing me this recently, right? We were watching that black and white
Bimbo's Initiation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so that's what cartoons used to just be like
for adults, basically.
Whatever,
right?
well, like whatever the animators. Well, because there's no rules, right? They're just like, we can draw anything, we can animate anything.
Yeah.
So, as long as it has like sort of cute character, like, we can just do what There's no real there's no rules, I guess. So Ren and Stimpy felt like it was more like that or something, rather than like, I don't know, The Simpsons or something, which is basically just like a sitcom. Like, it's an animated sitcom, right? There's repeating characters, there's clear stories, there's kind of morals, even storylines, right? So it's basically just like a animated, and everything. I feel like like Rick and Morty and like, it's still in that Simpsons playbook. I mean, it's kind of.
So did Simpsons reset after every episode, or did?
Well, no, they had
evolutions
continuity, right?
Okay,
so if a character,
Family Guy just completely resets every time.
Okay,
right?
yeah. One reason is maybe even kind of less sophisticated, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just still in that playbook, right? Like, in South Park is that same playbook, and So everything, but like things that things that came out of Ren and Stimpy. I mean, other than like Beavis and Butthead, maybe. I don't know what else you would really say.
Yeah, like
came out of it. Because it's just too weird, right? I mean, it's like, where are you gonna go from?
Yeah,
where are you gonna go from there, right? I mean,
yeah.
You can't really. But that's why it was so kind of important, or I don't know, interesting at least. I don't know if you'd call it important, but certainly more interesting than stuff before or since. It was on Nickelodeon, on a fairly mainstream, time slot.
Yeah.
So kids were like tuning in, like, wow, what the fuck is this, right? It's crazy, or like, what? I mean, it's funny, but you're like, I'm laughing hard and I don't really know why, right? I'm like, I don't know what I'm laughing at, but it's crazy, right? Like, like it was really fun. Like, it was really funny. Like Powdered Toast Man, and like, just, I don't know, it's just ridiculous.
Is this a villain or a protagonist?
It's a random superhero that's based on toast.
This is very like Rick and I guess Rick and Morty kind of drew from this, basically.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I mean, I think it kind of
became influential.
Kind of influenced most stuff, but I mean, just pure, absurdist humor, and the characters are like, well, because it's a cat and a dog, right? But they're like kind of gross, right? They're like coughing up hairballs, and mucus, and they're like shaving each other. Like, it's just kind of like, before that, cartoon characters were like just purely kind of cute. And, right. So
speaking of cat and dog, Cat Dog.
It's another, it's like just another, feels like Ren and Stimpy.
They just like distilled it into something.
I don't know, toned it down or something. Basically. Yeah. But yeah, the original is really strange.
What year is it from?
1991, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah.
91 or 92. I don't think it even lasted long. I think it was just like 2 seasons or something. So it's more like, I think it's just cast such a big shadow, but I don't think it was even on the air for that long, really.
Do you know why it was canceled?
It's just
too cracked out.
Cracked out, man. I mean, like,
but I mean, was it holding?
I think it was expensive too, because like
just to animate.
Well, yeah, because it's like better. It's like better animated than it needs to be, and I think they were like falling behind on deadlines, and like they're just like the guy that got canceled. Like, he just wanted it to be like, I think he was kind of like a perfectionist, and he just wanted it, like, every next episode to be like upping the bar or something. And after a while, they're like, "Oh, you're already like 6 months behind," and we just need some cartoons, man. It's not supposed to be like an art project, And I think he was kind of looking at it.
It's just stuffing, so he can sell the ads,
just selling ad space.
Kind of funny how it all comes back to that, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's what they contracted him for. They're like, "Oh, can you just turn out like the next Looney Tunes or something?" And he turned it into his own, weird art project or whatever, and kind of
God forbid you actually try and do something. God forbid
you actually try to do something, but
rather than just cranking out
a product. I mean, nowadays they could just digitally animate. Just use we were talking about this last time, right? You just use templates to.
But yeah, so I mean, I was thinking like, what are good contemporary cartoons? Rick and Morty, I think, it's easy to hate on, but I think it is a pretty interesting vehicle for some of the stuff they talk about, I guess.
It's good. I haven't kept up with it. I mean, I only saw like the first.
I don't know if it's still going. Like, they got rid of one of the guys because he had some pretty wacky hijinks as well.
I sort of remember that. Yeah, I can't even. I think I'd even stopped watching by then because.
Man, the canceling of him is pretty funny as well. Like, if you read the text messages.
What did he do? He was like...
Well, he was basically just like texting back like fans, but these fans were like, 14-year-old girls.
But was he like being serious, or was he...
It's hard to tell,
okay,
right? I mean, it, like, I would say no.
Yeah.
I would say he's probably just an alcoholic. And
yeah, was he just drunk and someone, he just replies to something like and doesn't?
No, but he was like maintaining a relationship basically, and I think there were like plans to meet, but I don't know if it like went anywhere.
Okay, I'd have to look it up.
It is all pretty weird, but I mean, listeners, if you want a good laugh, check out those text messages because some of the stuff he said is just it's quite funny.
It's funny. Okay, yeah.
You have to look at it through the right lens because obviously you can go like, okay, this is despicable, this is an adult predator, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But like, just read his messages like as they are, and it's pretty. Yeah.
I'd have to look into it. Like, I mean, I can't really have an opinion without looking at it. But
I'm also a big fan of Archer.
Yeah, Archer was good.
Yeah,
Archer was good.
And again, Archer, like it was just a vehicle for.
Have you seen Venture Brothers?
No.
You gotta see Venture Brothers, man.
Brothers?
That's the best one. Yeah, I feel like Venture Brothers is the ultimate cartoon.
Venture, like an economic venture, or like what? Okay,
interesting. It's what it is it's basically it's like a parody of I don't know if you know Johnny Quest.
Rings a bell.
It's one of these like Hanna-Barbera 1960s cartoons where it's
this is old. Okay.
So it's parodying Johnny Quest, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like about these two boys, and they're just like the Hardy Boys or whatever,
right?
And their dad is like this famous adventurer scientist, right? That takes them on adventures, right? But he's just like in contrast to the original cartoon, he's just like a total fuck up, right?
This is just Rick and Morty.
Well,
yeah.
So, but Venture Bros before, yeah. So
that's the influence.
And Venture Brothers is also hilariously like way better than it needs to be. Like it's super well written. There's some crazy deep dive humor that's like hitting on just crazy levels that you wouldn't expect. And there's just some really hilarious takes. And it does get it basically is like the Rick and Morty playbook, I guess, or I guess like Rick and Morty is like the Venture Brothers playbook, I would say, because it goes to some very dark places. And I think maybe Rick and Morty wouldn't have thought to do that without Venture Brothers, maybe. So definitely I would recommend watching that one.
Okay.
It's hilarious. It's just a incredibly funny show and does go quite deep as well. But
Tons on a podcast is a big risk.
Yeah. How are we doing for time? We almost
let's
right?
can probably just plug it here.
Pop it out here.
Don't like this don't like the distance we have here between the equipment.
I'll try to maybe
it's on me. I don't know. I think I shuffled my desk setup around. Brings us to another end of the episode. It's that time again.
We're gonna have some. I think we mentioned the last one. We're gonna have some guests coming up. Hopefully, maybe next month or so. We're gonna try to bring out some heavy hitter, cool people to go into some deep topics.
I think it'll be fun.
Cool.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Don't change that channel.
Yeah. So Instagram, Justinisis93 and Justinisis1 on X, and Blue Sky, I can't remember. It's on there too, and some other ones. Discord, there's a Discord now.
What Discord?
Neo Decadence Discord.
Why is it on Discord now?
Some person wanted to make it.
Make a Discord.
Like, can I make a Discord?
Interesting.
I was like, all right, yeah.
Okay, invite me. I'm on Discord as well.
Yeah.
Great. DBLV on Instagram. If you want to insult my interior,
Dreamcatcher.
Anything really, like style decisions, interior decoration, audio quality, video quality. DBLV on Instagram. I'm all ears.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace.
Have a good week. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.